The Kings had a pretty controversial offseason, at least among Kings fans. Some fans loved the signings, and some fans hated the lack of signings. I think I liked the offseason. You know what? No, I actually really liked the offseason. I think an important thing to remember when talking about the Sacramento Kings is that they're the Sacramento Kings. We're not a free agent destination. Our biggest free agent signing ever was Vladi Divac, almost 25 years ago. 25. The biggest free agent signing in recent Kings memory is Malik Monk. Fantastic player, might be my favorite player, but he comes off the bench. The Kings do not attract superstars or even stars. What, you thought because we have a new purple laser beam, we're going to assemble the Avengers? Is that how that movie worked? No, man, we're the Kings, and that's fine. Embrace it. Let's look at who we did sign. So first up, we got Harrison Barnes at 3 years, 54 million, and I think this is the signing that was kind of the poster child or poster boy, golden child. We'll go with poster child of the controversial Kings offseason. Controversial is kind of in quotes now, but yeah, man, for whatever reason, Kings fans just weren't super excited about this signing. Honestly, I wasn't crazy about the Barnes deal when it first happened, but then after seeing what everyone else was getting, I was like, okay, that's pretty fair. Also, didn't seem like we were going to get anybody that plays that position that's as good as Barnes. But yeah, for a while, all we had was this Harrison Barnes signing, and everybody was looking forward to seeing who the Kings would sign. Somebody that wasn't already on the team the last 4 years. But that didn't end up happening, and I think seeing what everybody else got in the free agent market, the Kings got a pretty good deal on Barnes. And then we also brought back Trey Lyles for 2 years, 16 million. Love that deal. Love Trey Lyles. I mean, if he can just do what he did last year, or obviously be even a little better, I would take that. We also brought back Alex Len on a 1 year, $3.2 million deal. That one, I'm less crazy about. I mean, somehow he showed up in the playoffs. Was not expecting that, but I don't know. I mean, he's more of just a depth piece. Maybe he's a locker room guy. I don't know. We also brought in JaVale McGee for pretty much the same exact contract. And this one I liked a little more just because I feel like he's been around the block longer. He's also lengthier. And I like the fact that he can actually like catch lobs and dunk them as opposed to Alex Len, who, his hands aren't the best. I think McGee gives you a little more athleticism and more of a defensive presence. I don't think the difference between McGee and Len is that crazy. We had also signed Nerlens Noel to like the same exact contract as McGee and Len, and I was actually like kind of excited about that. I mean, excited in a Kings way, like, oh, this guy might be a okay backup big, because I mean he's shown like an ability to rebound, an ability to play decent defense down on the post, but apparently he just wasn't cutting it because he got cut. And then we also extended Sabonis, which I think was probably the most underrated move of the entire offseason, because that was the whole issue with the trade for a lot of Kings fans, or even just NBA fans that, had strong opinions about the trade. They were like, oh, you just traded for a guy who you're going to have for like a year and a half, and he's not even going to re-sign with you guys. Well, we got that part figured out, and he's going to be with us for 5 more years, including this one. And it's 5 years, 217 million, which I think is pretty fair. I mean, that's what you have to pay a guy who's that good. But yeah, I mean, that was literally what I was worried about, because I knew he'd be a good player, but it was just whether or not we'd be able to keep him long term. And now we have him, which is awesome, because we haven't had a guy like that since Boogie, and we haven't had a guy like that who wanted to be here since C Webb, so it's cool. It's nice that we have that position locked down. And we also signed the reigning EuroLeague MVP, Sasha Vezenkov, to a 3-year, $20 million deal. Was probably the flashiest move of the offseason, if you can even call it that, seeing as most NBA fans have probably never heard of this guy. But I'm super excited about him. I know there's been reports coming out that he might not even be in the rotation at the start of the year, but I don't know, man. One, I think he's just too good on offense to not get any minutes. And two, if you look at our rotation at the start of the last year, I mean, we had KZ Okpala starting. So a lot can change over the course of the year. I think by the time the calendar flips, Sasha will be at least like the third guy coming off the bench behind Monk and Davion. And the last deal that I want to talk about was the trade we made for Chris Duarte. And we gave away 2 second round picks to get Duarte. And we got him for this year. We have a club option next year. Then he's a restricted free agent after that. So we could have him for 3 years, which is pretty crazy considering the fact that he was a lottery pick. And he had a really good rookie season. I know he was hurt last year, kind of derailed. But him and Sabonis have an established connection and chemistry. So I think he'll be a really solid piece off the bench too. All right, so those are the guys that we did get. Now let's talk about the guys that we didn't get. And there were a bunch of players that Kings fans were hoping we'd go out and sign. Most notably, perhaps, was Draymond Green. And I don't know, I just don't think the fit would have been as good as a lot of Kings fans were making it out to be. I think, he's obviously a great player, but his value is greatest in Golden State. He's the heartbeat of that team, and I just don't think he's as valuable to other teams as he is to the Warriors. And the fit definitely would not have been as good in Sacramento as it is in Golden State. He also signed for 4 years, $100 million, and I don't think the Kings would have been comfortable giving him that much. And that's even if Draymond wanted to come to Sacramento, which I don't really think he did. I think he was just using us as leverage to get a better deal from the Warriors. There's also OG Anunoby, but we would have had to give up Keegan Murray at least to land OG. I love his game. I mean, he's obviously one of the best defensive players in the league, which we could have desperately used. But I don't know, man. I don't think Kings front office is ready to ship away Keegan, especially after the rookie year that he had. And given the fact that we already sent away one of our top young players a couple years ago. And I mean, it turned out probably about as good as it could have. And so I don't know if they want to keep rolling the dice on moves like that. And Pascal Siakam would have been the same thing. I know a lot of Kings fans were hoping we'd go out and get him at the trade deadline. And I mean, who knows? He's still probably going to be on the trade deadline come this year. But I mean, it would have to be a similar package, if not more, to get Pascal. There's also Chris Middleton. He signed for 3 years, $93 million. And if he were to have come to Sacramento, it would have probably been like 3 years, $120 or something crazy like that. Because, I mean, that's just the Kings tax. We have to pay more for guys like that. And I like Middleton again. I mean, these are all players I'd love to have on the Kings, but it's all about the right price. But I think him and Brook Lopez were pretty set on coming back to the Bucks. And, I mean, Brook was another guy that some Kings fans were hoping we'd get. He signed a deal for 2 years, $48 million. And obviously he's still somehow one of the better big men in the NBA. But I don't know if that's a sign that wouldn't necessarily put us over the edge, I don't think Brook Lopez automatically makes us title contenders. Great player. He would have helped a lot with spacing and rim protection. But I don't know if he would have been able to keep up with the pace that the Kings play at. And then lastly, we got Kyle Kuzma, who signed for 4 years, $100 million. 4 years, $102 million. And he's the guy that I really thought the Kings were going to sign. I thought that was pretty much a done deal, Kuzma coming to the Kings. But he did sign for, I think, a little bit more money than what people had thought he was going to get. And, I mean, that's kind of the case across the NBA. I mean, look at, what Fred VanVleet got, what Dylan Brooks got. People were throwing out the money this year, which I get why, some Kings fans are kind of upset that we didn't do the same. But I don't know. I'm honestly pretty happy with the offseason that we did have because we were able to extend Sabonis. We got HB back on a cheap deal. And I don't know. I think we're just still a little too early to go sell our future. Regardless of who we could have gotten, most of our success is going to be predicated on the development of Fox, Sabonis, and Keegan Murray. If we're going to win a championship anytime soon, it's going to be because of those three guys. That's just how it is in these small market streets. The Nuggets had to do it that way. I mean, I know they traded for Aaron Gordon, but he's their third best player. And while he's really good, he's not, an all-star like some of the guys Kings fans were begging for. The Raptors got a star, but one, it's not really a small market. And two, Kawhi was basically banished there. Not like he chose to go there, But yeah, man, we basically got the band back together, which I think every Kings fan should be excited about. We made some really solid additions in Sasha, Duarte, and JaVale, and we locked up perhaps our most important player in Sabonis. So we planned well for the future while also making this team better in the present. I would give the offseason an A minus, which for the Canes is honestly an A plus. Small markets should get graded on a curve. But let me know what grade you would give the Canes offseason. I've got a lot more content coming out this week and leading up to the start of the regular season. So subscribe and let's get that beam warmed up, huh?